Hey everyone, welcome back to the Digital Nomad World Weekly Series. Today I'm here with Will Hatton, who's going to talk with me about the rise of the digital nomad hostel and the nomad worlders who are coming to this digital nomad hostel. So Will, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me, Becky. What a pleasure. Happy to be here.
Yes, I am so excited to hear about this. So first, before we begin, I want to hear a little bit about your background and how you became a digital nomad.
It's a good, yeah, okay. I mean, I'll give you like the short version of this story. But I was living in India, homeless at some train stations about 13 years ago. It was a fun old time. And then I heard about copywriting, and I was like, whoa, I can write. I've got an iPod Touch. I can connect to Wi-Fi and write stuff. So I started writing alongside my avid jobs, which were, collecting colorful baubles and trinkets and T-shirts and taking them back to sell at festivals. I started blogging. I had a humble little travel blog, which was all about traveling the world on like $10 a day, which was typically my budget. I expanded into doing some drop shipping stuff, did a whole bunch of different sites working like within a sponsored post network for a while, fell big time into affiliate marketing, started leading tours around Pakistan and Iran and Kyrgyzstan, designed my own products, tried a lot of different things, and then really the blog just exploded like 5 years ago. I think last month we have 1.6 million unique visitors, so it's like a pretty massive site, and that has kind of been the engine behind everything else that we've gotten involved in.
Wow. And so I understand, like from this blog and this audience that you said, you then kind of have shifted recently and you've started a
Yeah.
project called Tribal Bali. So can you tell us about
Mm.
this? And why did you
Yeah,
shift over
absolutely.
as well? Or why this
Yeah,
shift?
well, so I mean, really, I kind of just like I start a lot of things and I don't always finish things because I have like a lot of passions and I like to really throw my energy at what's exciting me at the time. But what I found whilst I was, living this digital nomad entrepreneurial lifestyle was I love backpacking, I love travel, I love meeting new people. It just really gets me excited. The challenge is that trying to live that backpacker lifestyle whilst also building a business. The two just don't really go hand in hand together. And when I was staying in hostels, I was really experiencing a lot of fear of missing out, FOMO, because people would be partying, meeting, and I'd be like stuck in the corner trying to do some work and make some money, right? And over the last few years, I've come across more and more people like me doing various things online, wanting to live the travel lifestyle, but struggling to merge the two together in a way that really works. So tribal is at the moment we're called Tribal Bali, but we're going to be called like Tribal Hostels moving forwards because the goal is to do like 10 of these around the world, starting in Bali and then jumping to another couple of locations that we've got in mind. So the goal with Tribal really is to enable digital nomads, freelance entrepreneurs, people who are building their own businesses, people who are looking to be location independent, people who are really looking for a more freedom style of lifestyle, but who also want to get some good travel vibes, meet some cool people, to enable those people to have a hub from which they can work from all day if that's what's needed. They've got good coffee, they've got food, but they've also got like everything that they might need for a fun evening, like a bar, a pool, a real self-contained kind of area where you can work and it's pretty quiet. But in the evening, you just take like, 10 steps in that direction and you're in the bar and it's like a happening area. So that was really our goal. That was really our vision, to try and create something that will support people who are trying to build their own businesses, their own incomes online, but will also enable them to find a community, find their tribe, and enjoy the best of the learning experiences that travel has to offer.
This sounds so amazing, Will, because as a digital nomad myself for about 3.5 years, I face these same things you're saying, and I'm sure everybody does who stays at hostels.
Yeah.
What did you find was really missing for you in these hostels? What do you think hostels don't have that digital nomads who have to work at the same time are looking for?
Honestly, so much. Like there's so much wrong with the average hostel when it comes to trying to find trying to gel that with actually working. And we built this from the ground up. We designed it from scratch. It was a massive project. It was expensive. A lot of hostels are built on the cheap, and they're not really designed in a way where there's even like an adequate supply of power outlets. Is one thing that a lot of people need, obviously. With our dorms themselves, we've redesigned them in a way where there's like a lot of smart compartmentalization. You can charge your devices whilst they're like nice and safe in a padlocked box. It's like laid out in a way that is quite private. So if you wanted to, just work in your dorm bed, you can. And we've designed it like with little tweaks, such as like rather than having metal ladders that make a hell of a lot of noise, we've got like steps, and under the steps you've got cool like Japanese style storage where you can slide your shoes. Within like the main hostel area itself, we've really tried to lay it out in a way where there's a lot of different options for seating. So there's tables where you can sit in a big crowd. There's co-working booths that have like whiteboards inside them. So if you want to just like be a little booth goblin and spend the day like hiding out on your whiteboard, which is like quite often what I like to do, you can just find like a little nook and cranny and slide yourself in there, and there's power and it's like nice and private, and you've got your whiteboard in front of you. We've got bean bags. We've got a pool table if you want to like break it up a little bit. Really, I think the main thing is about laying it out in a way where there's lots of power, lots of different seating options, and lots of different spaces. So, if you need to have a meeting with 4, 5, 6 people, you can do that. If you need to take a call and it needs to be quiet, you can do that. And wherever you are, you can, get power. Also, we've designed it in a way where it's pretty Instagram friendly. I'm not a social media guy. I don't even have Instagram on my phone, but I understand that a lot of entrepreneurs these days are going through the journey of having to sell themselves since they're selling services. So it helps to give them spaces where they can just whip out their phone and they've got beautiful backgrounds to shoot up against if they need to make a quick video.
I love this. There's so many things you've just mentioned that I didn't even think about before. But yeah, like the metal ladders versus the quiet ladders, and charging those laptops in a safe padlocked environment. I've actually never seen that in a hostel, and that is incredible. Put us so much at ease, I'm sure. Have to ask, Bali, I think, is still known for having Wi-Fi that's not very good. How is the Wi-Fi at Tribal Bali?
So it's such a good question. And all I can tell you is we spent as much money as is possible on Wi-Fi. Okay. So it's about as fast as it can be. It's mostly fine. We've got a couple of ideas for how we can improve it. We think we need to put in some more routers, because all of the time if you're like in one part of the hostel and you move to another part of the hostel, the router won't realize and you'll still be like attached to the other router. Bali, like the internet situation in Bali, it isn't Thailand, it isn't Europe, but it's nowhere near as bad as it used to be, and it is getting better. So, I mean, normally we'll have 80, 90 people in there. Many of them are doing video calls. Many of them are like watching and streaming videos or whatever. And I would say I get 2 or 3 people a day who come up to me needing assistance. And usually they've been like downloading loads of shit, and that's why. So it's pretty good. I would give it a 7.4 out of 10.
That's great. That's better than I would expect, like you said, notoriously in Bali. Great. And 80 to 90 people. I mean, that's a much bigger number than I normally see. So if it can, I'm sure if there's less, it's better. So
yeah. When there's less people, in the mornings when it's nice and quiet, it's pretty lightning fast, to be honest.
Okay, so I have another question. I've checked out your, I think you are quite a good copywriter. I've seen your post you made at the beginning of August about the opening of Tribal Bali. And you mentioned you have a swimming pool that's really big and gets sunshine all day long. Is this true? Yeah,
I have been so incredibly sunburned in that swimming pool on more than one occasion. No, it's we've really lucked out with our location. We didn't honestly realize this when we originally bought this piece of land and started constructing there, but it gets the sun almost all day. And the way that the hostel is built is the whole of the bottom level is all open, right, with metal pillars supporting the top level. So it gets a beautiful breeze coming in all day. So it's it's breezy, it's bright, it's sunny, and you can get very, very sunburned in that pool, which I highly recommend.
Okay. Also, on the flip side, have you rain tested this place yet? Because I know Bali has basically a wet season.
Oh yeah.
Have you had a lot of rain already?
Oh, we've had a lot of rain.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have this main hole in the roof. Not a hole. It was designed this way. It's to let air and sunlight in. and it's beautiful. It's absolutely fine until it starts raining, at which point it's kind of like a waterfall. But me and the staff have kind of got it locked down now, where when it starts raining hard, we all just panic, run around for a second, and then grab all the cushions and stuff that needs to come in, and everything's fine. No, so like in all seriousness, if you're like working in a hostel, unless you happen to be working in that area, you're fine. You're fine. And if it does start chucking it down, you tend to move. But I mean, Bali's kind of renowned for its sudden downpours. Nowhere is perfectly leak proof, but Tribal is about as leak proof as it gets.
Okay, fantastic. Also, I want to ask about the music because
Yeah.
it's now become a famous thing. Selena is they are maybe the first chain I heard about that was putting co-working inside the accommodation area. But they always, I noticed in the ones I've been in, they pump music by the pool. And if you're not a fan of that music or you're trying to have calls, it can be very annoying. So what is your policy with music? Because I know you want to make it fun too, but yeah.
So we've got music playing most of the day, but the speakers are laid out in a way where most of that is over by the bar, by the pool table, by the games area. To be honest, we tend to just have like chill tunes going on at like, I don't know, 30% volume. So it's pretty quiet. It's just like some quiet ambience going on in the background. And then, in the evening, if there's a good crowd around the bar, we might change the playlist, make it a little bit louder. But I don't think we've had anybody complain about the volume. So we tend to go on the conservative side, keep it a little quieter.
Okay. I also want to ask about the co-working area. So in Selena, for example, you have to pay extra to use the space. What is it like at Tribal Bali? Do you have to pay?
No, I mean, no, of course not. Of course not. No, if you're staying in a hostel, the co-working is absolutely included. Like that's part of it. Moving forward, at the moment, we also have a lot of guests coming in who aren't staying in the hostel. And we don't currently have a fee for the co-working. Instead, we have a minimum spend in the restaurant. We will probably be bringing in a fee in the future because unfortunately we've had quite a lot of people come in and like sit on a 4-person table and like buy one thing for like 8 hours. So we're still kind of figuring it out. Like obviously we opened a year ago, right in the middle of COVID. And we had to kind of flip our business model towards being a co-working space without many guests for quite a long time. And now we're transitioning into a co-working hostel where our guests are obviously our priority. And slowly but surely, I think the ratio will change and there'll be more guests in there and less daily co-workers. But no, if you are staying in Tribal, there's like no cheeky little extras. Like, of course, the co-working is included. That's the whole concept.
Okay, that's great to know. So what about events? I know you just opened recently, but do you have like a weekly program of events that are always happening on the same day each week, or what are your plans around events in the future?
So we've literally just started with that. We hired our events manager like a month ago, and over the last couple of weeks, we've been having regular Bahasa to English lessons, which is quite cool. We have a very spunky Bahasa teacher who comes in and teaches lots of naughty words as well as the stuff you actually need. We also have like a cultural event where our staff will teach guests how the locals do offerings in Bali to appease the spirits. That's pretty cool. You get to like make up a little offering plate and learn all about the Balinese history and the Balinese culture around that. We've got plans to do quite a lot more in the future. We've just started putting together our like day tours where you can kind of see the best of Bali in a day. It's been really interesting because we've already got people turning up who don't have very long in Bali and need to work. So they're very, very keen to like take advantage of taking a car and driver out for the day, which we have on site, to see some of the best sites of Bali, chase some waterfalls, go and taste some tasty coffee. Bali has amazing coffee. Go and see some of the biggest rice fields in the world. There's like one which is a UNESCO heritage site. So there's a lot of cool stuff to see, and we're leaning into creating more stuff around that. Moving forward in the future, like there's a lot more that we'd like to do. We'd like to collaborate with local artists, local musicians. We've been talking to a few, and we'll start putting stuff like that on in the future. Like maybe we'll have like an art show or have like an improv comedy night. I'd also like to do some more like entrepreneurship based talks where there's some bits, I've got some wisdom I can share. And I'd like to get some other folks in as well to talk about various topics, whether it's, mastering Google Analytics or understanding the ins and outs of dropshipping or affiliate marketing. So yeah, that's definitely something that we're going to be leaning into further and trying to find the balance between offering stuff that really shows off the best of Bali and allows people to learn more about the Balinese culture, and also putting on events which can help people with their professional growth as a digital nomad.
That's great. So you mentioned that car, like, is it a car you
Oh yeah.
hire to go out and drive yourself, or is it a
Oh no,
guide or a
you
driver?
do not want to do that in Bali. Like
Okay.
the roads here are insane. Like honestly, I've driven all over the place, and like, yeah, I wouldn't want to be in a car in Bali. Like driving, I mean, no, we've got our right hand man Pusu. He is a hoot, and he knows Bali like the back of his hand. So he takes guests on this like tailor-made trip that we have in place.
Okay, is that like a group of people that can sign up, or is it like one of
Yeah.
the guests that rent him for the day or get his
Yeah, I mean,
services?
if one person wanted to pay for 4 spots in the car, I guess they could. But as long as we
Okay.
can get like 4 people together, that's normally what we do. And we're planning on getting like a bigger vehicle in the future as well. We're kind of still in like the beginning stages of I don't know, not beginning stage. We're kind of like in stage 2. We've already got a stage 3 and a stage 4 lined up because we've got world domination on the cards. Like we're very excited. Frankly, we think we could do quite a lot better than Selena. So I'm like Selena have done a good job, but anyway, we won't go into that here. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what we can do.
Yes, and I want to also ask, like, where would you like to go next if you've already got stage 3 and 4? Because as you said, this isn't just going to be tribal Bali. This is also about digital nomad focused hostels in
Yeah,
general.
absolutely. So I mean, from our point of view, I think we'll do 3 or 4 in Bali. We'll do
Okay.
one up in Ubud. I like the idea of doing a digital detox retreat center,
Oh,
where
yeah.
because like I think is a lot of digital nomads. I think one of the biggest drawbacks is even more so than the average individual. It can be very difficult to have a healthy relationship with devices. I know that I've certainly had this issue in the past where like I was like, oh, social media is work, so I guess it's fine to be completely addicted to social media. And I think that a lot of the other digital nomads have had that issue as well. So I like the idea of having a digital detox retreat center where nomads can still like feel that they're working on their business, can still like throw ideas around, journals, whiteboards, sweat lodges. That's where all the magic happens. We'll definitely do like a surf one over in Lombok as well. And then the next destination that's kind of on our minds at the moment is probably Sri Lanka, but I think we'll have to make sure they don't have a civil war first. So we'll see how that goes.
I love this. I love the idea that this could become the norm for digital nomads, that they have a place where they can connect with people and everything is already well thought out. Since we've all been there,
Yeah,
we've all been to those hostels where it's like, oh, they just did this. It would work so well for me. I did want to go
yeah.
back to something that I think you might have to deal with all of these locations. So I've read
Tell me.
on your website that you're basically allowing anyone. You're targeting backpackers and digital nomads.
Hmm.
Is there a way that you're planning to balance that? Because I know maybe it could just become all backpackers if you're
Yeah,
not
honestly,
careful.
so it's a great question and one that I look forward to answering in 1 year's time. We're just kind of like embarking on this journey now, and we have got a very mixed crowd coming through. But what I've found though is that it's not just digital nomads who we kind of appeal to. It's also people who want to experience hostel life, but frankly want a much more bougie, cleaner, more upmarket hostel experience. We've had a lot of people coming through who are looking for that. People who maybe work in London or New York, have a lot of fucking money, and they want to spend 2, 3 weeks being a backpacker, but they really have no desire to stay somewhere that's full of drunken 18-year-olds and doesn't have maybe the best hygiene. Um, like I said, our building was custom designed. Like we've spent a lot of time, money, and energy getting it right. And it is a more bougie experience. So far, we haven't had any like total party animals coming through. I'm sure they're coming. Like I'm looking forward to them coming. I'm going to say hi, that's for sure. But I feel that it will be an evolution, and I feel like the vibe will change here and there. But I think that what's great about the way that we're laid out is you could have people going pretty nuts over by the bar, and if you are far away in like the co-working booth, I don't think it would bother you. And that's kind of what makes it special. And like, I've before in the past in hostels curled up on what I think is like a nice quiet little couch, and then before you know it, you're surrounded by drunken, I was going to say idiots, but that's not really fair, by drunken revelers who wish to spend time with you. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like it will be an experiment, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how it balances out.
Yeah, I know for like booking purposes, it becomes very complicated. I've never seen a
Yeah.
hostel, for example, where am asked, are you a backpacker? Are you working while traveling? And then you can put them in different rooms. But I don't know if that's the right solution either, because then maybe you'll miss out on meeting someone who's quite different from yourself, or
Yeah.
the solution.
Yeah, I mean, it's been really nice recently because we've had like the first embryonic side of like a community forming, people making friends, people leaving the hostel and going traveling around our parts in Indonesia and then coming back. And that's really started to fall into place over the last couple of months. It's honestly been super exciting to watch people from different backgrounds come together, enjoy the facilities, throw ideas around about entrepreneurship, digital nomad life, what meaningful work means to them. It's been very cool to watch. And I think that the more diversity we can get in the hostel, the more unique of a space it will be. So honestly, we're pretty welcoming to everybody. We've had like a whole range of age groups come in. And it's been really fun so far. So we haven't had any issues, and I'm hoping it will continue that way.
That's great. Great to hear. So how many beds do you have? How many hostel beds versus do you have any private rooms?
Yeah. So we do have private rooms. We don't have enough private rooms. They're like fully booked for the next 3 or 4 months. We've got 4 private rooms, and then we've got 9 8-bed dorms. Only 4 of those are currently open because we're in the purpose of finishing off the other 5. We'll be opening 2 of those in like 2 weeks' time. So we're pretty close now to being at a point where we can have full capacity. And full capacity for us is like, I think it's like 9. Hold on. Oh, on the spot maths. 82. That's full capacity.
Okay, and like you said, only 8-bed dorms, and then do the private rooms are they ensuite bathrooms or?
Yeah. The privates are double beds, ensuite bathrooms with a nice view. And like I said, we've learned a lot from this property and from designing it and building it ourselves. The next one, I think we would probably have some more privates, just so we could increase our offering of that because they've been so popular so far.
Okay, great. So I'm wondering, like, do you offer any kind of welcome package for like a first time digital nomad? Bali is where I heard of that happening for the first time. I think it was Dojo Bali, the co-working space. They were like, oh, when you land, here's your SIM card, here's your accommodation. But for you have the accommodation there. So I was curious.
Yeah. So there was a lot of pretty crazy deals floating around in Bali during COVID. Most of those have now gone away. I'm not aware of anyone currently offering any like deals. Most places aren't offering monthly stays anymore. That was a thing for a while where if you booked for a month, you get a pretty hefty discount because all of the various hostels and guest houses are pretty desperate and we're fighting for guests. We are not offering any special deal. However, I feel that we're priced pretty competitively, which will probably change in the future. At the moment, we're a new business, so we're keen to get people back, keen to make those tweaks. So like we're pretty cheap. We're cheaper than other hostels of a similar quality. We can see all the data online, right? So we've priced ourselves below the average point against other hostels in the vicinity who have similar type of facilities as us. I do think that in the future we might do some kind of packages, but at the moment that isn't our model. So no, not yet.
Okay. And now I want to talk about the food and the coffee at your place, because you mentioned on the website you have all day brunch. And I'm curious what the level of the coffee is. Is it like a machine in the corner, self-serve?
What is the level of okay, like that coffee
it's
machine?
Important.
I've pretty much had to remortgage my house with that coffee machine. Like, honestly, we had it shipped in from Italy. It was crazy.
Oh my
So the
God.
coffee is fantastic. The coffee
Okay.
is like next level. Seriously, very, very good. Yes, we've got a cafe and restaurant that's open from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. and then like a bar as well. So there's like a lot of different options, but a pretty cool cocktail menu that we spend a lot of time and many drunken afternoons putting together. Our meal's pretty extensive, and I'm also a big fan of like building a brunch. So you got like 30 things on the build a brunch menu, and you can like pick and choose and make some crazy concoctions. It's pretty fun. But yeah, you have to come down and try our coffee, and you can confirm. But it's like I'm genuinely not just saying this. Like it's the best cappuccino I've had in Bali, so I'm pretty happy with it.
All right. And what is your timeline for the next space now that I know we're still
Great
really
question.
early on, but how fast do you hope to expand this concept? Because I'm hoping to find this in many countries. I'm
Fast,
so excited for
yeah,
what you guys have made here.
like comparatively fast. We already have our second location planned. We're going to be looking at land in that location over the next 2-3 months. I would like to have something built by the end of next year for location number 2, and to have location number 3 and 4 to have the land and the location locked down by the end of next year as well. That depends on a couple of different factors, which are kind of too complicated to go into right here. But I hope that we'll have, 4 or 5 assets open and ready to go in like the next 2 to 3 years. So comparatively fast. And then once you get past that 4 or 5 asset mark, then things change, because then you can look at taking outside investment, and then you can scale up from like 5, 10, 15, 20. So until we've got one in every country in the world, I don't know, you're probably looking at like 10, 15 years, but we're coming.
Yeah, and I think this is a fantastic idea that is really necessary to make these hostels more geared to remote workers.
Yeah.
So I don't think we've mentioned this. Where is Tribal Bali located in Bali?
Oh, it's a great question. So we are in Pereiranan, which is like on the outskirts of the happening hipster hub of Canggu. Canggu's amazing. I've lived in Canggu. I love it. It's a great place to be. It's quite busy now. It's pretty popular. So Pereiranan is just like a 10-minute scooter ride, a stone's throw really from Canggu. We're a 1-minute scoot from the beach, or I guess an 8-minute walk. We're right next to a beautiful rice paddy, so you've got the wind whipping through there all day, the sun beating down. I guess from the airport, how far are we? Well, that depends on traffic. 50 minutes to 2.5 hours. Obviously, the traffic here is crazy. But yeah, we're just outside of Canggu, and Pereiranan is very much like the up and coming new area in Bali at the moment. So it's an exciting place to be. A lot of new restaurants, a lot of new like creative spaces, art galleries, pottery studios, all this cool stuff.
Great. I can't wait to visit you, Will. I haven't been to Bali myself in 10 years, so I am long overdue.
Oh man, it's changed. Like you're in for a surprise, but it's still very beautiful. Like just an absolutely amazing place. Like I'm genuinely very blessed to be living here. I've lived in many places all over the world, and this is by far my favorite place to live, work, eat, play.
All right. Well, my last question for you today, Will, is if people want to follow you, where can they go?
Oh yeah.
Where can they go to book the hostel as well?
Yeah, so we're just Tribal Bali on Instagram. The hostel is on hostelworld and booking.com, but the best bet is just to go to tribalbali.com, because then it's like slightly cheaper, and you can book us through there. So check that out. Follow us on Instagram. Maybe there'll be some sneak peeks and some tasty extras that will drop, and if we do drop them, they'll be dropped on Instagram. So that's the best place to follow along.
All right, Will. Well, thank you so much for creating Tribal Bali. It was a pleasure to chat with you, and good luck as you open up the rest of the hostel.
Thank you so much. Looking forward to having you out here.
Yes, I can't wait to go and explore.